All right, so welcome everyone to the third session in our Species at Risk in the Salish Sea workshop series. My name is Fiona, and tonight we're going to be talking all about what we can do to help these animals to continue to survive and thrive. So I'm joining you today from Sea Smart in Vancouver, and Vancouver is on the traditional and unceded territory of the Coast Salish people. This includes the Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam peoples. And I'm so excited that I get to explore and learn and work in this traditional and unceded land. It's a really awesome place. The Salish Sea is incredible, teeming with life. We've learned about quite a few different animals that live in the Salish Sea. If you can remember, I know we did this last week, we went over these animals. Feel free to type what these 4 different animals are in the chat. I'll give you 1 minute because some of their names are pretty long. All right, about 15 more seconds. Got some answers coming in now. Excellent. If you can only remember 1, or if you only have time to type 1, that's okay as well. All right, so down here we have basking shark. Excellent job, everyone. We have the stellar sea lion. Perfect. Over here we have the southern resident killer whale. We talked about that in our trivia when we started this, the session. And finally, the leatherback sea turtle. So these are the 4 animals that we learned about that are species at risk in the Salish Sea. So last week we talked a lot about what threats are impacting these animals, what's putting them at risk of extinction. So I've sort of categorized all of the things we talked about into 3 major categories. So we've got pollution, which included chemical pollution and plastic pollution, as well as polluted fishing gear, which can cause entanglement. I've got ships here, and ships cause both acoustic, so sound, and physical disturbances. So these ships make a lot of noise as they travel through the Salish Sea, and there are quite a few of them as well. So all of that noise can interrupt things like the echolocation used by the southern resident killer whales, but it can also just make it really frustrating for animals to be living and traveling through the Salish Sea. Sort of like if you had really noisy neighbors and they always had super loud music playing, even when you were trying to sleep. They can also cause physical disturbances like collisions. So if this ship went where you were trying to swim and it hit you, it could cause some serious damage. And the third category of threats that we see in the Salish Sea is caused by fisheries. So this can include overfishing, taking way too much of one kind of fish and not leaving enough for the animals that live there. So we talked about how the southern resident killer whales love to eat Chinook salmon. And if the fisheries take all the Chinook salmon, there won't be enough food for those southern resident killer whales. We also talked about bycatch. So when fisheries go out to catch a specific kind of fish, but they accidentally catch something else. So this happens a lot with both sharks and turtles, and basking sharks and leatherback sea turtles are not exempt from this. So bycatch can be a serious concern as well. So after the last 2 webinar sessions, I sent an assignment by email. It's okay if you didn't finish those assignments or if you're not feeling like sharing them either. But what I'm going to do for the next little while is I'm going to share the example assignment that I created. And then after that, if anybody would like to share the assignments that they created, we'll have an opportunity to do that. If you aren't feeling like sharing in this setting, you're more than welcome to send your completed assignments to me as a PowerPoint or just as the sheet with answers on it. Or you can just share it with your friends, your family. You can Share it with people in your school, whatever you're feeling comfortable with. But for now, what we'll do is we'll go through the assignment that I created, and you can see sort of what it looks like and learn a little bit more about leatherback sea turtles. So leatherback sea turtles by me, Fiona. I drew this picture of a leatherback sea turtle. I didn't color it. I'm not always a big fan of coloring, so it's just a line drawing. So 3 facts that I think are awesome about the leatherback sea turtle is that they're the biggest sea turtle. They like to eat jellyfish. I think that's pretty cool. I think jellyfish would probably feel really weird if you tried to eat them. And 3, they lay their eggs on beaches. So even though they live their lives in the ocean, they crawl up on the beaches. They leave really funny tracks in the sand that look sort of like really big tire tracks. They dig holes with their flippers, and then they lay a bunch of eggs, up to 100 at once. Those eggs are then left to fend for themselves. So those babies hatch, they have to get out of the sand, crawl down to the ocean, and all while avoiding dogs and birds and people who might want to predate those eggs or eat those eggs. So the leatherback sea turtles live in a lot of different places, primarily the ocean, but they can migrate thousands of kilometers every year. So even if they're born down on the beaches of like Costa Rica, they can come up to Canada to find things like jellyfish that they can eat in the Salish Sea. So only females will return to the beaches that they were born on to lay their eggs. The males spend their whole lives in the ocean. They don't go back onto the beaches, but they do come to Canada, both the males and the females. So like I've mentioned, leatherback sea turtles love to eat jellyfish. Sometimes they'll eat other gelatinous critters as well, but jellyfish are their favorite food. We talked a little bit about how plastic can look a bit like jellyfish. We'll talk about that again in a second. But another question I had was, does anything eat leatherback sea turtles? And I learned that at every stage of their life, they're at risk of getting eaten. So as eggs, many things will dig up the leatherback sea turtles. So dogs, coatis, which kind of look a bit like raccoons, and other mammals dig up the eggs. Sometimes even humans will eat leatherback sea turtle eggs. As babies, it's really hard for them to make it from the nest to the ocean without getting eaten. When I was in Costa Rica, I saw a lot of birds that would wait in the morning for little turtles to start crawling out of their nests. They wanted to eat those baby turtles for sure. On the beach, as the mom turtles are laying the eggs, there's things like jaguars that will try to attack them as well. And in the ocean, sharks and killer whales are both known to try to eat or bother leatherback sea turtles. So even though they're massive and they've got this nice shell on their back, they aren't safe from predators at any stage of their life. The good thing is that there's a lot of ocean out there, and there's lots of space for the leatherback sea turtles to live where there aren't sharks and killer whales pestering them at all times. So something that I thought was a really big issue for the leatherback sea turtles is plastic pollution. So although this isn't a picture of a leatherback sea turtle, you can see this sea turtle is eating a plastic bag. So these plastic bags will float in the water. They look a lot like a jellyfish to a sea turtle. So they do sometimes get maunched. We talked about how if the sea turtle was to eat that, it could get stuck on its face or in its throat. It could fill up its belly, and this sea turtle would feel full, but it would get no nutrients. So there's lots of ways that plastic can hurt a sea turtle. All in all, it's just a really bad thing for them to be eating. So, yeah, this is a little bit of what I just talked about, of how it can become entangled in plastic, making it hard for them to move and eat, and how it fills up their bellies without providing any nutrients. So some of the things that I do that maybe contribute to this threat is some of the food that I buy comes in plastic packaging. So things I'm thinking about particularly are like a head of cauliflower with a plastic bag around it. Sometimes berries come in those plastic clamshells. And even if I forget my grocery bag at home, sometimes I end up using a plastic grocery bag. I can't always find the proper recycling bins to dispose of it, so things like chip bags end up in the garbage. And sometimes this garbage might blow into the ocean. So I decided to be part of the solution. And to do that, I chose to use less plastic and to purchase food that is not in plastic packaging. So I made my own bread at home. This is banana bread, and I wrapped it in beeswax wrap, so it has no plastic in it. I also have these reusable bags that I put my vegetables in at the grocery store, and that means I don't have to get a new plastic bag every time I buy a vegetable. I also make sure to buy peanut butter that comes in a glass jar with a metal lid instead of peanut butter in a plastic jar. So all of these little things, they don't seem like much on their own, but if lots of people over lots of time do all of these little actions, they can become part of a really big solution. So that is an example of the presentation that could be created when you finish both assignment 1 and assignment 2. Is there anyone who would like to share an assignment that they created? All right, thank you everybody for sharing what you did. If you're wondering what's next, how do you keep being an awesome ocean hero? Well, I've got some actions for you to take. So the first thing is completing a survey. So either if you're joining live, check your email tomorrow and it'll be in your inbox. Or if you're joining from YouTube, feel free to check the comments below. It'll be down there for you to fill out. This survey is really important for Sea Smart to understand the impact that we're having. So what you're learning from us and what actions you're taking as a result of what you learned. It'll also help us to improve our webinars for the future so that people can continue to enjoy what we are presenting and learning about the ocean and the incredible animals that live there. The next action I invite you to take is to share what you've learned with your friends and your family. So if you are at school, at recess, you can tell your friends some of the cool trivia that we learned at the start of our sessions, or you can just talk about basking sharks or leatherback sea turtles with your parents or your family over dinner. I'm sure everybody would be excited to learn a little bit more about some of the cool critters that live in the Salish Sea. And finally, keep on learning about what you can do to help. So being an ocean hero doesn't stop here. If you keep on learning and you keep on doing things that can help these animals, you can continue being an ocean hero. So if you follow Sea Smart on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, we can share posts about things that you can do to help, interesting facts, and opportunities for more learning like webinars like this one. You can also find local opportunities to volunteer. So doing things like if you see a shoreline cleanup is happening in your neighborhood, head out there and help out. Shoreline cleanups are an awesome way to make a real tangible difference in your community. And finally, continue to learn through webinars like this one from us and from other organizations across Canada. Perhaps there's one that's a little more relevant to where you live or in a topic of interest for you. Sea Smart will be offering more webinars this spring, so continue following us on social media, checking out the events page on our website for more opportunities. But for now, I wanted to say thank you, Ocean Heroes, for coming, for hanging out with me, and for learning a little bit about the animals in the Salish Sea. So remember to visit seasmartschool.com. There's lots of awesome opportunities there. So we have resources and online learning if you like coloring pages or courses, or if you're a teacher looking for ways to teach your students about these topics, we have resources for you. Our summer camp registration is open now as well. So if you want a full week of ocean awesomeness, sign up for summer camps on our website. We will also be posting more events and we're hosting school programs. So if you'd like Sea Smart to come into your classroom and share a little bit more information about any of these animals or other animals in the area, we are open to do that. So check out our website for all these opportunities and more. But for now, I'm going to say adios. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a great evening.